Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, the Deputy Leader of Westminster Council is under fire after it emerged that he received more than 500 gifts and hospitality packages in 3 years. Robert Davis, a Conservative councillor, accepted tickets to West End shows, dinners at London's top restaurants and even foreign trips, some of which came from property industry figures. Well, until last year, Mr Davis was the chairman of Westminster's Planning Committee. In a statement, the council said all the meetings were declared and had no sway on planning decisions. Well, since the start of 2015, Mr Davis accepted 296 free meals, 60 free trips to the theatre, concerts and ballet, and 9 trips outside London, including visits to Cannes, Switzerland and the United States. 151 of the entries on the register were from property industry figures, including developers, architects, consultants and hotel owners. Well, Adam Hugg is the leader of the Westminster Council Labour Group and he joins us now. Many thanks indeed for joining us this afternoon, Mr Hugg. So what's
Hello,
Mr
everyone.
Davis been up to?
Well, look, we think this is a clear indicator of a broken culture at the heart of Westminster Council. For many years, Robert Davis has behaved in this way whilst maintaining roles with significant responsibility for planning and business decisions in Westminster. Now, we're not suggesting that he's broken any rules, but we're saying the rules are fundamentally wrong and need to be changed. We're committing to, and if we were to win the council in May, not have any hospitality meetings with individual developers, and that all such meetings should be on the record with council officers present if they're absolutely necessary to be had. Other councils do this. Westminster Council has chosen not to do this.
Your council say that you're on course to build almost 2,000 homes in the next 5 years. Mr Davis is clearly doing his job. He's doing a good job. So if there are some perks that come with that role, then so be it.
Look, ultimately, Westminster for far too long has produced far fewer than the required number of affordable homes. Obviously, they're catching up as there's an election ahead with trying to make some big pledges for the coming years. But they've got one of the worst building records in London for social and genuinely affordable housing. So, you know, it's too little too late. And ultimately, there'll be many opportunities where a more proactive council could have put pressure on those developers to build more homes in Westminster for the people on the waiting list or people in overcrowded homes. Again, other councils do this differently, and ultimately even Westminster's replacement councillors for the chair of the Planning Committee and Planning Policy have not had any of these meetings. You know, Councillor Davis remains the Deputy Leader of the Council. He remains having special responsibility for most of the big projects across Westminster, but ultimately the people who've replaced him as in charge of planning have not had any of these meetings. So either they're not doing their jobs by not having all these meetings, or Councillor Davis was doing something that sets the wrong tone for the council and you know, puts the whole approach in a bad light. Ultimately, we think it's the latter. We think this doesn't send the right signal for the council to be sending to Westminster residents. Ultimately, the council needs to be on their side, not that of the developers. You know, needs to have a pragmatic relationship with industry to make sure that we get the best for our residents. And I don't think that's helped by this approach that sort of dovetails in with an approach that has been very laissez-faire, letting the market rip, and ultimately not providing the social housing that Westminster's residents are desperately needing.
I mean, the perception isn't good, but it sounds like it's not the man himself that's at fault here. It sounds more like the system within Westminster Council is broken. Well,
I think we think this is a clear indicator of wider systemic problems in how the Conservatives have run the council. However, you know, as I said, his successors in the planning brief have not behaved in this way. So obviously there are clearly it's not a requirement to do the job. But you know, the fact is he remains deputy leader. He remains responsible for all of these major planning schemes, major development schemes. Sorry, not the planning side of them. And you know, we think that has been accepted by the current leadership of Westminster Council as being acceptable and appropriate. We don't think that's the right approach. We think it needs to change.
He says that his sole purpose was to ensure and encourage the right kind of development in Westminster and ensure that anything put before the council was going to benefit the city as a whole. Moving forwards, what should be done and what can be done?
Ultimately, if you need to meet with people from the industry, you can do so in a room with council officers present, a record taken of those meetings, and ultimately, not taking theatre trips, not taking posh dinners out. In order to do that, the council has tea and biscuits. If developers want to come to the council offices to meet with officers and with, where appropriate, councillors, there are ways you can do that. Many other London councils operate such transparency. We think it's time Westminster did too.
Councillor Hugg, appreciate your time. Thank you.